Jordan refused to play a game until this racist fan was kicked out. NBA tried to hide it. The stadium was buzzing. The Chicago Bulls were hosting a critical game in the Eastern Conference semifinals. It was the early 90s, peak Jordan era. The kind of night fans told their kids about: sold-out arena, camera flashes popping, broadcasters shouting over the roar. Jordan came out for warm-ups as usual, headphones around his neck, locked in but loose. He bounced the ball lazily as he scanned the crowd. He was used to hecklers. Trash talk was part of the game. But one voice caught his attention. It didn't sound like trash talk. It sounded personal. Ugly. "Go back to where you came from," the man in the courtside seats shouted, clear as day. Jordan froze mid-dribble. His head tilted slightly toward the sound. He didn't react. Just stared. The man laughed, like it was some inside joke only he found funny. Jordan took one more shot, missed intentionally, and walked off the court. No explanation. No limp. No trainer. Just left. In the locker room, chaos started almost immediately. Reporters whispered rumors. Was he sick? Hurt? Feuding with a teammate? Cameras focused on Pippen, who looked just as confused. Meanwhile, Jordan sat silently on the bench, elbows on knees, not speaking. Assistant coach Tex Winter approached him first. "Mike, something wrong?" Jordan nodded. "Yeah. I'm not playing." Tex blinked. "You're joking." "I'm not." "That man, row 1. Seat 3. He used a slur. I'm not stepping back on that court until he's gone." Tex sighed, rubbed his forehead. "You sure you want to do this?" Jordan looked him in the eye. "Dead sure." Word spread like fire. Jerry Krause, Phil Jackson, league reps, all started crowding into the hallway. The TV broadcast was minutes from going live. The commissioner wasn't in town, but a senior NBA official was. They begged Jordan to reconsider. Just ignore him. Focus on the game. "I'm not here to entertain bigots," Jordan said. "You want your ratings, your ticket sales, then get him out." Security was hesitant. No policy existed for ejecting someone over verbal abuse unless it was threatening or disruptive. This guy had paid thousands for his seat. Powerful season ticket holder. No one wanted to touch it. The clock ticked down to tip-off. Players jogged out to the court. The anthem played. Jordan was still in the locker room, jersey off, arms folded. Back in the stands, the man sat smugly, chatting with the guy next to him like nothing had happened. Arena staff passed by but said nothing. Fans were starting to notice Jordan's absence. Commentators speculated softly. Word is Michael Jordan may be dealing with a last-minute issue. Scottie Pippen finally walked back into the tunnel and confronted Jordan. "You really not playing?" "Nope." "You know what kind of noise this is gonna make?" "Let it." Phil Jackson entered the room, quiet but stern. "We've tried everything. The league wants you on that court." Jordan stood up. "Then they better want him gone." Phil looked at him a long moment. "All right." Back outside, producers were losing their minds. The Bulls' PR team was fielding dozens of calls. Nike's reps were there, sweating bullets. The game tipped off without Jordan. Boozer missed the first shot. The fans started chanting, "We want Mike. We want Mike." Pippen tried to hold it down. He made some early plays, but the rhythm was off. The team looked distracted. They were trailing by 10 in the first quarter. Jordan sat watching from inside, jaw clenched. Halftime came. The score was tied, but nobody cared. Everyone wanted to know why Jordan wasn't playing. A few media outlets had caught whispers. One even tried to speak to the heckler outside the tunnel, but he refused to comment. Then came a moment no one expected. A teenage ballboy, no older than 14, knocked on the locker room door and slipped in. He held out a crumpled piece of paper with Jordan's face drawn in pencil. "I heard what you did," the kid said. "I think it's the bravest thing I've seen." Jordan didn't say anything at first. Then he asked, "You ever deal with people like that?" The boy nodded. "Every week." Jordan gave a small smile. "That's why I'm not letting it slide." The second half was about to start. Jordan suited up, but not to play. He walked into the hallway, eyes scanning until he found the league rep, Last Chance. "Either he goes, or I walk out and announce why." The rep swallowed hard. "Give me 5 minutes." He walked straight to the security head. Whispered something. Within minutes, a group of ushers approached the fan. He stood up, confused. "What? I didn't do anything." "Sir, you've been asked to leave." "By who?" "Mr. Jordan." The fan turned red with rage. "This is ridiculous." The crowd didn't know what was happening until security escorted him out. Some booed. Some cheered. But the message was clear. Jordan re-entered the court midway through the third quarter. The building erupted. The commentators lost it. "Michael Jordan is back on the court, ladies and gentlemen." He didn't wave. Didn't smile. Just nodded and got into position. First possession, he nailed a three. Next one, he drove hard to the basket and drew a foul. And then, he locked in. The crowd was electric. But no one could forget what had just happened. There was an undercurrent in the room, something more important than basketball. As the quarter ended, the Bulls pulled ahead. Jordan walked to the bench, towel over his head, breathing heavy. Phil leaned in. "You good?" Jordan nodded. "Now I am." But he wasn't done yet. The energy shifted the second Jordan stepped back on the court. Everyone knew it. Teammates fed off it. The fans roared with every move he made, but he didn't smile, didn't point, didn't engage. This wasn't about entertainment anymore. He wasn't there to play for applause, he was there to make a point. The third quarter ended with the Bulls up by 7. Jordan had already racked up 22 points in a little over 9 minutes. He didn't take a seat during the break. He stood near the scorer's table, eyes fixed on the hardwood, waiting. During the timeout, word started to spread through the arena. Rumors moved like wildfire. Some fans had recorded the heckler being escorted out. Clips were already being shared with captions like "Jordan refused to play until this guy got ejected." Reporters in the media box huddled, confirming details. The story had legs now. It was growing. Back on the bench, Scotty leaned in. "You sure you want to take this all the way?" "I'm already in it," Jordan said. "You're gonna catch heat for this." Jordan glanced toward the cameras lining the court. "Let them talk." By the time the fourth quarter began, national news outlets were already preparing segments. SportsCenter ran a breaking update on the game, calling it highly unusual behavior and speculating about the cause. Inside league offices, phones rang nonstop. Sponsors called. Board members debated behind closed doors. But Jordan played through it. With each possession, he got sharper. He wasn't trying to win with finesse, he was cutting through defenders with raw force. Dunks weren't about style, they were about control. He wasn't just scoring, he was dominating, like something inside him had snapped loose and needed to run free. With 5 minutes left, the Bulls were up by double digits. Still, Jordan didn't slow down. It was like he wanted to leave no doubt. The crowd could feel it too, they weren't just cheering, they were witnessing something shift. Not just in the game, but in the league, in the air, in the message it carried. Then, with 2 minutes remaining, Jordan drew a foul and walked to the line. As he bounced the ball, the arena fell strangely quiet. Everyone watching, waiting. He sank the first. Then the second. Timeout. He walked toward the bench, and that's when a young reporter near the tunnel shouted, "Michael, why'd you sit out the first half?" Jordan stopped. Looked straight at him. "Because I don't play for people who hate what I am." No PR team. No scripted line. Just truth, thrown into the open like a grenade. Back in the locker room, the atmosphere was different. The win was overshadowed by whispers. Some players sat in silence. Others shook their heads. Not in disagreement, but disbelief at what had just happened. Phil Jackson approached slowly. "I've got the league on the phone." "Let them wait," Jordan said, grabbing a towel and wiping sweat from his face. The phone call came 10 minutes later. A senior NBA executive's voice was tense. "You've just made this very difficult, Michael." "Good," Jordan replied. "You've opened a door we've avoided for years." Then maybe it was time someone kicked it down. There was a pause. "You're going to face backlash. From media. From certain owners. You know that, right?" Jordan didn't flinch. "I'm not looking to be a mascot. I'm here to play the game right. If that fan stayed, it wouldn't have been the game anymore." The call ended with no resolution. Meanwhile, outside the stadium, a different kind of crowd had gathered. Protesters. Fans holding signs that read "Stand with Mike" and "No room for hate courtside." The story had caught on quicker than anyone expected. News vans lined the streets. The next day, the league issued a vague statement: the NBA does not condone offensive behavior from fans and continues to evaluate conduct policies. It didn't name Jordan. It didn't mention the ejection. It was a half measure. That same afternoon, a journalist published a leaked transcript of what the fan said. It matched what Jordan reported. The reaction online was immediate. People were furious that the league hadn't acted faster. A press conference was scheduled for the following morning. Jordan didn't wait for it. That evening, he showed up at a community gym on the south side of Chicago where kids were playing ball on a torn-up court. No cameras, no press. Just Jordan, sneakers in hand, walking onto the court like it was 1984 all over again. He spoke quietly to the kids, played a few pickup minutes, then told them, "You don't have to let anyone tell you who you are. Not in this game. Not in this life." One of the kids, barely taller than the ball, asked, "Are they mad at you?" Jordan laughed softly. "Some of them. But I'm okay with that." Meanwhile, the fan who had been ejected tried to deny everything. He gave interviews claiming he never said a slur, that Jordan was being dramatic. But multiple witnesses backed Jordan's account. Eventually, he stopped talking. Behind closed doors, the NBA convened. Players from other teams began voicing their support for Jordan. One said he would walk off too if something like that happened again. Quietly, the league realized it was cornered. They had to do something. That night, back at his condo, Jordan got a call from David Stern. "We're going to draft a conduct policy," Stern said. Jordan said nothing. "We want your input." Still nothing. "Michael?" "I already gave it," Jordan replied. "When I didn't play." The call ended shortly after. By the end of the week, the NBA announced it would be drafting the league's first ever fan conduct code, focused on zero tolerance for hate speech. The language was careful, but the message was clear. The press called it the Jordan policy, though the league refused to credit him officially. Jordan didn't do interviews. He didn't post statements. He just showed up for the next game and dropped 48 points. But everyone watching knew, it wasn't just about basketball anymore. The fallout from the incident didn't disappear after a few games. Reporters kept pressing. Talk shows debated it endlessly. Some called Jordan a hero, others called him a distraction. Sports networks ran polls, fans argued at barbershops and diners. But Jordan? He just kept playing. Every game after that night felt heavier, like the court was carrying more than just players and the ball. It carried the weight of something unspoken before. Players around the league started speaking up. A few shared their own stories of being heckled by fans with slurs and insults, things they'd learned to ignore. But not anymore. Jordan wasn't campaigning. He wasn't on a PR tour. He let his silence say what words couldn't. In post-game interviews, when asked about the policy change, he deflected, "I'm focused on winning." But everyone knew he had already changed something bigger than a scoreboard. The NBA's new fan conduct policy was quietly rolled out just 2 weeks later. It prohibited abusive or hateful language from fans, especially in courtside seats. Ejection was immediate. Lifetime bans were now on the table. Security across arenas was retrained. Some owners pushed back, worried about fan loyalty or ticket sales. But the public support overwhelmed the pushback. The story refused to die down. One night, after a game in New York, an older sports writer cornered Jordan as he left the locker room. "You really think kicking one guy out changed anything?" the writer asked. Jordan stopped and looked him in the eye. "No. But letting him stay would have told every kid watching that it was okay." It wasn't a headline. It didn't make the front page. But the writer included it in the column the next day. Quiet, powerful, real. Meanwhile, something shifted within the Bulls' locker room. Players carried themselves differently. Even Pippen said it in an interview, "Mike made us see it's bigger than ball sometimes." That night, he didn't just lead in points. He led in guts. The league, now facing a more alert fan base, began enforcing the policy actively. A few weeks later, in another city, a different fan was ejected mid-game for shouting a slur at a visiting player. The arena reacted with applause. Times were changing. Back in Chicago, the team was deep into the playoffs. Tension was high. Every game mattered. The media circus around the incident had calmed, but the undercurrent remained. Everyone knew what had happened. No one forgot. During a pre-finals press conference, a young reporter asked Jordan if he'd do it again, knowing the backlash. He didn't hesitate. Every single time. The Bulls eventually made it to the finals. The series was brutal, 6 games of sweat, bruises, and grit. Jordan carried the team through Game 6 with a performance that made history. But it wasn't just his scoring that left an impression, it was the way he carried himself. Focused. Unapologetic. Resolute. They won the championship at home. The crowd erupted, confetti filled the air, and cameras swarmed the court. Jordan held the trophy, sweat soaking his jersey, face unreadable. A broadcaster shoved a mic toward him. "Michael, what does this title mean after everything that's happened this season?" Jordan paused, looked out at the crowd. "It means we earned it. It means you can take a stand and still win." Then he walked away. Later that night, long after the interviews ended and the arena had emptied, Jordan sat alone in the quiet of the locker room. The noise was gone. Just him, the trophy, and the echo of bouncing basketballs from janitors sweeping up. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. The kid's drawing. The one from that night. He'd kept it. He smiled, just barely, then folded it carefully and placed it back inside. A soft knock broke the silence. It was the ball boy again, now wearing a finals shirt 2 sizes too big. "Hey, Mike. I just wanted to say, thanks. You didn't have to do what you did." Jordan stood up and handed him the game-worn shoes. "Yes, I did," he said. "Because you were watching." The kid stared at the shoes, speechless. Jordan patted his shoulder. "You hold on to those. Not just because of who wore them, but what they stood for." Outside, the press tried to spin the ending. Some focused on the championship. Others on the controversy. But those who really watched, who saw the whole season unfold, knew this title wasn't just about basketball. It was about taking the shot when no one else would. It was about calling out what everyone ignored. It was about not playing along with silence. Jordan didn't give more interviews about it. He didn't write a book or make a speech. He just moved forward. The league never officially credited him for the policy change. But players knew. Fans knew. The league had changed, and it started because one man refused to play. Years later, a new player was asked in an interview what his greatest moment in basketball was. He didn't mention a title, a buzzer beater, or a trophy. He said, "It was the night Jordan sat out. That moment gave guys like me permission to never accept disrespect again." And in some distant court, somewhere unknown to cameras and crowds, a kid with a ball and a dream remembers that story. He doesn't remember the final score. He remembers the choice. Jordan made his legacy with championships, but he defined it by refusing to play.